Hi, my name is Scott, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to find honest debt relief help, a question I get all the time. Reputable debt relief companies are out there, you just need to know how to find one. So here are some tips. The most common resources for research are search engines and review sites. Obviously with search engines, just because the site's at the top of a search engine does not mean it's good. Just like if a website looks terrific, does not necessarily mean it's a great reputable company. Websites are a dime a dozen these days. Also, review sites. You need to be aware that many review sites are full of competitors bashing each other in this industry. So take that into account when you look at those reviews. If you see a couple of bad reviews on a review site, go to another review site and see if you see same or similar complaints from other posters. The one review site that I do tend to look at and pay much more attention to is the BBB site. So let's talk about that. Letter grades are what everyone looks at when they first go to the BBB site. Is it an A, B, C, D, E, or F? I think that's certainly helpful information, but you need to read deeper than that to get a real sense of the company. I like to look at the number of complaints the company's had in the past 3 years, and also the number of complaints resolved versus unresolved during that same 3-year period. A company with a lot of unresolved complaints means they're not responding to the BBB's requests for a response, and that's not a good sign. Also, a company that has 30 complaints, let's say, over the past 3 years is not a big deal in my opinion if a company's had, say, 10, 11, 12,000 clients during that time frame, a very small percentage of complaints. But if a company has 30 complaints and maybe only 400 or 500 clients during that 3-year period, then that's a huge problem, obviously, and a company you want to stay away from. So the one piece of information that BBB does not provide is the number of clients. So you need to get that information as best you can from other sources. Hopefully the company itself will give you an honest answer. Also on the BBB site, look at the number of years they've been in business, the number of employees they have. You can Google map the company address and make sure it looks like a legitimate office building and not a home in a suburban neighborhood. And also, you want to Google the owner's name to see if there's any information that you can glean about that owner, maybe previous work experience, previous companies he's owned or she's owned, to find out more about them. Alright, so now you've done your web research. What do? Well, just like when you're hiring any kind of service provider, whether it be someone to cut your grass or do your taxes, you got to give them a call and ask them a lot of questions and get comfortable with them. First of all, you need to ask pointed questions about the FTC laws and whether or not they're abiding by them 100%. Basically, the laws changed not too long ago, stating that there's a lot of different components to the law, but primarily stating that a lot of these companies can't take fees up front. And there's other components too that you want to research and ask them pointed questions to make sure that they're complying 100%. Also find out if they're members of any trade associations. While not crucial, it certainly does help, because if they're willing to pay the money on a monthly basis to be a member of an association, that means that they're likely staying up with the most recent rules and regulations on a state-by-state basis. Also ask them the number of employees they have, number of clients they have, the number of years they've been in business, and you can cross-reference all these answers with the numbers that you pulled off the BBB website and see if they come close to matching, or should match exactly. Finally, ask if the negotiation and the customer service are both handled in-house. So it's a lot easier for you if you can call somebody about a question about your account and they are also, one of their fellow employees is handling negotiations for you with your credit card companies on your behalf. Some companies are front-end sales organizations and they pass you along once you're in the program to a back-end negotiation company, a separate company altogether. To me, that's not a desirable situation. Finally, find out who holds your money. In other words, settlement companies are supposed to use third-party trust accounts that are set up. They're almost like banks, but they manage your money during the process. You want to listen for the truth. You know, there's no magic solution to any debt relief process. There's definitely drawbacks, and you want to hear from that company, every company you talk to, that there are drawbacks up front. You don't want to have to probe to find out what they are. You want them to be honest and upfront with you. Say, here's what we can do, the goods and the bads. There definitely still can be tax consequences. There definitely can still be credit score consequences. You definitely can still get creditor calls. So be aware of all these things and ask them to, to what the negative downside is, and hopefully they'll be upfront and honest with you. Any company that is too quick to want to bring you in the door without qualifying you in the same way you're qualifying them, to me is a huge red flag. A good reputable company will be concerned about their success rate for their clients, so they will carefully screen each applicant that calls them to find out as much information to see if they can accept them into their program. A company too quick to accept almost anybody that calls is a problem, so be careful. So to sum up, good help is out there. You're not alone. A little work and a lot of research goes a long way to helping you become debt-free and help you avoid the scams that might put you in a worse situation, and that's most important. The best education you can get is to find out as much as you can and learn as much as you can, and that's certainly a way to avoid getting yourself in more and more trouble. I hope this was helpful. You can see my website at debtreliefcompanies.net, where I have hundreds of pages of questions and answers, a lot of useful articles and research that you can use to learn about all the solutions, all the providers, and company reports, and you can decide what's best for you. Thanks for your time. I hope this was helpful.